The first faint light of dawn touches the horizon, painting the vast Giza sands in hues of gold and rose. You stand silently at the foot of the Grand Pyramid. The world around you is hushed, save for the gentle whisper of the desert wind. The stone blocks ascend impossibly high, capturing the morning sun like a colossal staircase reaching for the heavens. For thousands of years, these pyramids have resisted simple explanations, fueling tales of vanished cultures, extraterrestrial builders, and hidden knowledge buried beneath the shifting dunes. So, before you settle in, please consider showing your appreciation by liking this video and subscribing if you find this content engaging. I'd also love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you right now in the comments below. Now, let's dim the lights and perhaps turn on a fan for some soothing background noise as we begin our journey tonight. As you recline, picture the echoes of ancient travelers' footsteps crunching on sun-baked stones, their eyes wide with wonder at the first sight of these monuments emerging from the desert. Some must have pondered who possessed the capacity to construct something so monumental and what motivated them. Legends have surrounded the pyramids since their very inception. The ancient Greeks attributed their creation to mythical kings endowed with superhuman abilities. During the Middle Ages, storytellers asserted that they concealed the wisdom of Atlantis. In contemporary times, conspiracy theories have proliferated wildly, ranging from fanciful accounts of time travelers to hushed whispers of ancient aliens descending in gleaming craft to assemble the limestone blocks. Here is a verifiable historical detail. The Great Pyramid of Khufu was erected approximately 4,500 years ago during Egypt's Fourth Dynasty. This means it predated Cleopatra by a greater margin than she predates us. Scholars continue to debate whether the initial myths surrounding the pyramid's origins emerged within ancient Egypt itself, or were later fabricated by travelers captivated by the ruins. Speaking of peculiar notions, did you know that ancient Romans occasionally cleansed their teeth using powdered mouse brains? That's certainly a dental regimen that ought to have remained buried. Yet, despite centuries of dedicated research, the pyramids remain shrouded in an aura of mystery. How did countless workers manage to shape and transport stone blocks weighing several tons apiece? Why were these structures aligned with such remarkable precision to the celestial bodies? Could ordinary humans, devoid of modern machinery, truly have accomplished this feat? As you nestle deeper beneath your blankets, feel the warmth of the desert breeze caressing your face. Hear the faint calls of distant birds awakening with the sun, and sense the profound awe of a place where time seems to stand still. The sands may shift and the stories may morph, but the pyramids endure, immense and silent, awaiting our discovery of their true architects. The midday sun beats down upon the plateau, casting short, sharp shadows behind columns of laborers meticulously chiseling limestone under the watchful eyes of their supervisors. You drift just above this scene, as if carried by a warm gust, observing men clad in simple loincloths, their muscles straining as they maneuver heavy stones. However, something essential is absent from the popular portrayal you've encountered in countless films and historical texts. There are no cracking whips, no gaunt, famished slaves succumbing to the cruelty of their masters. Instead, evidence points to camaraderie, meticulous organization, and fair compensation over decades. The cinematic interpretation of the pyramid's construction depicted endless lines of enslaved individuals trudging through the sand. Yet contemporary archaeology presents a vastly different narrative. The Great Pyramid and its contemporaries were not the product of vast slave armies, but rather the work of a well nourished, skilled labor force, often held in high regard for their contribution to one of history's most astonishing achievements. Here is an undisputed historical fact. Excavations at Giza have yielded the remains of workers' barracks, bakeries, breweries, and even cattle bones, all indicating that the pyramid builders were provided with high quality sustenance. Historians continue to discuss whether all pyramid laborers were permanent employees or if farmers joined them seasonally when the Nile's annual floods rendered agricultural work impossible. Speaking of diligent effort, did you know that beavers possess orange teeth due to the iron content in their enamel, which enhances their strength? Nature's diminutive engineers would likely appreciate the pyramids. Evidence of precision abounds, showing that pyramid builders organized themselves into teams bearing names like the Friends of Khufu or the Drunkards of Menkaure, much like modern construction crews who often adopt unique team names. Records suggest these crews engaged in friendly competition for prestige, adorning hidden chambers with playful graffiti. Their labor was not a source of forced suffering, it was a matter of pride, a task that could secure a man a respectable livelihood and honor for his lineage. Imagine the sounds of joviality and the clinking of mugs as workers relaxed after arduous days. Picture stonecutters honing their copper chisels by the light of fires, sharing anecdotes from their homes along the Nile. The sheer immensity of the undertaking necessitated an unparalleled level of coordination. Supply chains ensured the timely delivery of bread, beer, and tools. Engineers meticulously directed the placement of stones, and cooks prepared sustenance to feed thousands. The age-old myth of incessant whipping under the sun simply does not align with the archaeological findings beneath the sand. Instead, what emerges is a depiction of a society that recognized the significance of its builders, individuals who contributed to the erection of monuments destined to endure for eternity. Thus, as you slow your breathing, listen to the steady cadence of hammers striking stone, the soft murmur of voices at dusk, and the quiet resolve of men who understood they were constructing something far grander than themselves, all without the need for chains. The initial dawn light permeates a dusty passageway, carved deep into the Giza plateau. You glide above a group of archaeologists, carefully clearing sand from a series of skeletons laid to rest more than 4,000 years prior. Yet, these are not pharaohs or priests. They are the common individuals who erected the pyramids. Their tombs, discovered in the vicinity of the Great Pyramid, narrate a compelling account of lives dedicated to service, not servitude, and of a society that deemed it fitting to bury its laborers with respect. In the 1990s, Egyptologists unearthed these burial grounds for workers a mere few hundred meters south of the pyramids. The graves contain well-constructed mud brick tombs, pottery, and personal effects. Some even feature small chapels and hieroglyphic inscriptions honoring the deceased. These builders were not treated as expendable labor. They were interred with ceremony, reflecting a profound connection between their work and their societal standing. Here is a definitive historical fact. Skeletal analyses of the remains of pyramid builders reveal evidence of healed fractures and medical interventions, indicating that these laborers received treatment and support. Historians continue to deliberate whether these burial sites represent exclusively a core group of skilled artisans or encompass the broader contingent of seasonal laborers who rotated in from neighboring villages. Speaking of burial sites, did you know that during the Victorian era, affluent families occasionally organized picnics in cemeteries as a fashionable pastime? Nothing quite signifies a Sunday outing like enjoying sandwiches amidst gravestones. The workers' cemeteries definitively debunked the narrative of slavery once and for all. Far from being a subjugated populace, these builders were organized, housed, and valued. The discovery of bakeries, breweries, and storage facilities in the same vicinity suggests a vast workers' settlement capable of sustaining thousands, akin to a temporary metropolis teeming with purpose. Imagine standing within the cool, sandy air of one of these modest tombs. Inscriptions reveal men proudly identified by their work crews. Hieroglyphs document offerings from family members, including bread, beer, and onions, everyday provisions intended to sustain them in the afterlife. These were men who understood their labor would transcend their own lifespans, who etched their legacy into stone as indelibly as any pharaoh. As you settle more deeply into your blanket, visualize rows of low, mud brick structures bathed in the soft morning light, simple markers of ordinary lives that collectively achieved something extraordinary. Proof that history's most magnificent wonders often rest upon the contributions of unsung heroes. The sun ascends higher over the plateau, the air shimmering with the heat of midday, as you drift above a lively encampment of workers near the pyramids. Fires crackle beneath clay ovens, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the sharp tang of fermenting beer. Long lines of men carry baskets laden with onions and fish from supply wagons. Far from scenes of destitution, you observe what appears more like a celebration of labor, sustained by ample calories, fellowship, and meticulous planning. Archaeologists excavating these workers' villages have uncovered vast bakeries and breweries, providing evidence of large-scale production. Analysis of bones from cattle, sheep, and goats indicates that meat was regularly provided, a luxury by ancient standards. Workers received rations of beer, often brewed to be thick and robust enough to serve as a meal in itself. A kind of ancient protein shake, perhaps served by the jug if your name was Jim. Here is an irrefutable historical fact. Inscriptions record rations of approximately 4 liters of beer per day for pyramid workers, alongside generous portions of bread, onions, and dried fish, high-energy foods perfectly suited for demanding physical labor. These rations suggest either state-controlled compensation or a religious obligation by temple estates to provide sustenance for laborers engaged in royal projects. Speaking of potent beverages, did you know that medieval European monks once developed a beer so nourishing they referred to it as liquid bread? Sometimes history truly does repeat itself. Beyond sustenance, evidence indicates that pyramid builders received organized medical care. Workers who suffered broken bones or strained muscles were attended to by healers skilled enough to set fractures properly, as evidenced by skeletal remains showing signs of recovery. Such attentive care would not have been extended to disposable slaves, signifying an investment in these laborers as valuable specialists. Imagine the clatter of wooden ladles against clay bowls, the low hum of songs sung after sunset as men rested by campfires, their bellies full and spirits content. It is a deeply human scene, worlds away from the cold, impersonal lines of shackled laborers. These were work crews proud of their craft, sharing laughter at the end of a long day's exertion. So, as your breathing deepens, listen to the gentle hiss of rising dough, the cheerful splashes of beer being poured into mugs, and the warm voices of men who not only constructed a wonder of the world, but did so while eating and drinking exceedingly well. A warm evening breeze drifts across the Giza Plateau as the sun descends behind the pyramids, imbuing their stone faces with the color of molten gold. You hover near a group of men set apart from the laborers, scribes with reed pens, foremen with polished staffs, and royal architects unrolling papyrus blueprints. These were the intellectual architects who transformed the pharaoh's divine aspirations into precise designs. A team of architects and engineers whose knowledge was so advanced it would puzzle scholars millennia later. Foremost among them was Hemiunu, believed by many Egyptologists to be the principal architect of the Great Pyramid. His statue, discovered near Giza, depicts a confident man seated cross-legged, a scroll resting on his knees, his gaze fixed outward as if envisioning the monumental project he oversaw. Unlike the laborers who toiled stone by stone, Hemiunu and his colleagues orchestrated resources, managed timelines, and calculated every facet of the pyramid's geometry. Here is the definitive historical fact. The base of the Great Pyramid deviates by less than 2 inches from being perfectly level across a span of 756 feet. This represents astonishing precision for a monument erected 4,500 years ago. Architects likely employed plumb bobs, sight lines, water-filled trenches, or a combination of these techniques to achieve such near-perfect alignment. Speaking of remarkable precision, did you know that honey never spoils? Archaeologists have unearthed 3,000-year-old jars of Egyptian honey that remain perfectly edible, a testament to the enduring quality of some ancient preparations. The architect's responsibilities extended far beyond mere lines on papyrus. They designed the ramps and scaffolding, the causeways connecting the quarries to the pyramid, and the internal chambers where the pharaoh's bodies would be laid to rest. They coordinated thousands of workers, arranged supply logistics, and adapted construction to address unforeseen challenges such as shifting foundations or stone shortages. Imagine standing among these planners at twilight, hearing the soft crackle of reed pens inscribing scrolls, hushed discussions of calculations, and the distant rumble of sledges dragging stones across the sand. Their minds held the architectural vision for the king's eternal dwelling, a structure so immense it would withstand earthquakes, sandstorms, and centuries of dynastic changes. So as your eyelids grow heavy, picture the confident gaze of an ancient architect looking towards the horizon, perceiving a pyramid where others saw only an endless desert, knowing precisely how to raise the impossible from the sand. The desert air cools as stars begin to emerge in the twilight sky. Yet you can almost hear the deep grunts and rhythmic chants of crews hauling massive stones across the sand. Sledges groan beneath multi-ton limestone blocks, while teams of men, ropes slung over their shoulders, pull in unison. Wooden rollers clatter beneath the sledges, and water is poured onto the sand to reduce friction along the stone's path, a detail lost for millennia until modern experiments revealed its ingenious effectiveness. The logistical feat of transporting these colossal stones remains one of the most astonishing accomplishments of the ancient world. Quarries were situated a short distance south of the Giza Plateau, where thousands of limestone blocks were extracted using copper chisels and wooden wedges. Workers then dragged them along meticulously prepared roads leading to the pyramid's base, coordinating movement with signals from overseers positioned on small mounds. Here's a crucial historical fact. Experiments conducted by Dutch scientists in 2014 confirmed that wetting sand in front of sledges reduced friction by up to 50%, corroborating ancient depictions of workers pouring water ahead of the sledges. Historians continue to debate whether ramps spiraled around the pyramid's exterior or ascended directly up one face, with emerging theories suggesting both methods may have been employed at different construction phases. Speaking of moving heavy objects, did you know that in 18th century Europe, parties known as furniture balls were held, during which guests assisted in moving all of a household's belongings in a single night? A rather hands-on approach compared to hiring movers. Imagine the moonlight illuminating rows of men pulling ropes, the soft crunch of damp sand under sledge runners, and the low, steady chants keeping hundreds of feet moving in unison. The entire operation demanded astonishing coordination. Food supplies had to arrive punctually, tools required constant repair, and each block's placement had to adhere to precise measurements, lest the pyramid's form be distorted. Each day, new stones were positioned with near perfect accuracy. Every few days, surveyors checked alignments using plumb lines and straight edges, ensuring each layer remained true. Errors would not only waste labor, but also risk structural collapse, making every movement a careful balance of speed and precision. So as you drift deeper beneath your blanket, listen to the creak of taut ropes, the muffled shuffle of thousands of sandaled feet, and the soft splash of water poured onto desert pathways. Simple, yet brilliant methods that enabled ordinary humans to achieve the extraordinary. A humid breeze sweeps in from the Nile as you hover above a shimmering river, verdant reeds rustling along its banks. The majestic river gleams in the moonlight, winding its way through the desert like a silver ribbon. Here, ancient Egyptians discovered the secret to moving mountains, the Nile itself. During its annual inundation, the river rose sufficiently to flood quarries and transport routes, transforming dry sand into waterways that carried massive stones on wooden barges to construction sites. This seasonal flooding was not merely a boon for agriculture. It served as a vital artery for the pharaohs. By floating limestone blocks down the Nile, workers avoided the arduous task of dragging heavy stones over scorching desert terrain for many miles. Barges were lashed together to form floating platforms, each capable of carrying several stones at once, propelled by teams of rowers or sails that harnessed the Nile's breezes. Here's a concrete historical fact. Reliefs found in ancient tombs depict scenes of men loading stones onto barges during the flood season, confirming the Nile's crucial role in pyramid construction. Historians continue to discuss whether specialized canals were excavated directly to the pyramid's base, or if workers hauled stones the remaining distance over land once the floodwaters receded. Speaking of unexpected engineering feats, did you know that the oldest known wooden prosthetic toe was discovered in an Egyptian tomb? Dating back over 3,000 years, it was crafted with remarkable precision. As the Nile rose, timing became paramount. Workers had to quarry, shape, and transport stones within the limited window of high water. Overseeing these logistics required scribes to meticulously track shipments and ensure no block was lost, as a single misplaced stone could delay construction by weeks or even months. Miscalculations risked barges becoming stranded in receding waters or colliding with riverbanks. Imagine yourself floating at dawn amidst these wooden barges, the splash of oars and shouted commands echoing across the misty water. The scent of damp earth rises from the flooded fields. Long lines of workers haul stones up ramps from the river's edge towards the plateau, synchronizing every movement with the river's flow. So, as your eyes grow heavy, allow your mind to drift with the gentle current of the Nile. Hear the creak of wooden hulls gliding through moonlit water, and feel the quiet ingenuity of a civilization that transformed their river into a superhighway for monumental construction. The sky above the pyramids glows a deep indigo as you hover near their shadowed edges, stars twinkling overhead. Down below, two men sit beside a flickering campfire, exchanging stories that range from bursts of laughter to hushed awe. One insists the pyramids were built by beings from outer space. The other scoffs, gesturing towards the nearby ramps and tools. Even in ancient times, the mysteries surrounding the pyramids sparked the creation of myths. Today, the most persistent narrative is the notion that aliens, rather than humans, were responsible for constructing these colossal structures. This idea gained traction in the 20th century, with authors who claimed the pyramid's precision and immense scale were unattainable without extraterrestrial assistance. Popular books and television programs propose that visitors from shiny ships arrived to impart their knowledge upon bewildered ancient populations. Images of laser beams cutting limestone and UFOs hovering over Giza captivated the imaginations of millions. Here is a definitive historical fact. Extensive archaeological evidence, including workers' villages, tools, ramps, and quarry markings, clearly demonstrates that humans built the pyramids through ingenuity, not otherworldly intervention. Historians continue to debate the reasons for the enduring popularity of alien theories, with some attributing it to a fascination with lost knowledge, while others perceive echoes of colonialist thinking that dismisses the achievements of non-European cultures. Speaking of peculiar extraterrestrial phenomena, did you know there exists a fungus that transforms ants into zombies, compelling them to climb plants before their heads burst forth? Nature sometimes surpasses even the most imaginative science fiction. Far from disrespecting ancient Egyptians, many early proponents of alien theories believed they were honoring them by suggesting cosmic assistance. However, in reality, such notions can obscure the genuine brilliance of a civilization that mastered quarrying mathematics and logistics. Evidence indicates that copper chisels shaped limestone blocks with remarkable precision. Sledges, ramps, and counterweights enabled flesh and blood humans to haul and position each massive stone. Imagine the dark silhouettes of ramps zigzagging up the pyramid faces, the soft glow of oil lamps illuminating teams of builders, and the low hum of chants in the night. Picture overseers verifying measurements with plumb bobs and leveling tools, ensuring each layer aligned within inches of perfection. As you settle deeper into your pillow, allow the gentle shimmer of the stars to impart a quiet truth. The most remarkable explanations often reside in the simplest of realities. Consider how, through sheer perseverance and clever design, ancient peoples erected colossal structures, monuments to their own enduring capabilities, requiring no assistance from otherworldly visitors. The first blush of dawn begins to paint the plateau, its nascent light casting elongated shadows down the pyramid's stepped faces. Imagine yourself alongside ancient surveyors, meticulously verifying lines etched into the sand. In one hand, they grip ropes marked with precisely spaced knots. In the other, they steady plumb bobs that swing rhythmically from their cords. These unpretentious instruments, employed with astonishing accuracy, held the key to the pyramid's secrets. For the ancient Egyptians, mathematics was not merely an abstract pursuit, it was a fundamental necessity for constructing edifices intended to endure for eternity. The grand pyramid's sides are aligned with the cardinal directions to within a fraction of a degree, and their bases are remarkably square. Accomplishing such precision demanded a profound understanding of geometry, angles, and ratios, rivaling even modern standards. Egyptologists have unearthed papyri that detail calculations for slopes, areas, and volumes, unequivocally demonstrating that the builders employed mathematical principles deliberately rather than through random chance. Here is a verifiable historical detail. A scroll known as the Rhind Mathematical Papyrus, dating to approximately 1650 BCE, presents practical problems for computing areas, volumes, and proportions, reflecting knowledge likely utilized during the pyramid's construction. Historians continue to ponder whether Egyptian mathematicians developed their techniques independently or assimilated concepts from older civilizations in Mesopotamia. Speaking of ancient numerical systems, did you know that Babylonian mathematicians utilized a base 60 system, which is the origin of our 60 minutes in an hour and 360 degrees in a circle? Some intellectual legacies persist for millennia. On the plateau, teams of surveyors established grids with extraordinary precision, employing right-angled triangles formed with chords to ensure perfectly square corners. They meticulously measured slope gradients to control the pyramid's angle, typically around 51 degrees, ensuring that each layer of stone seated precisely atop the one below. Any deviation would compound as the structure ascended, leading to a tilt or collapse. But their methods maintained the towering monument's integrity. Envision the soft dawn light reflecting off polished copper tools, the low hum of overseers verifying each placement, and the focused concentration of individuals whose mastery of mathematics determined the difference between triumph and failure. Even today, laser measurements of the pyramids confirm their near-perfect geometry, a testament to human skill rather than arcane mysteries. Thus, as your breathing deepens and steadies, listen for the faint rustling of knotted cords brushing against the sand, the soft impact of wooden measuring rods striking the ground, and the quiet pride of builders who transformed numerical concepts into stone and stone into enduring wonders. A dry desert breeze stirs the canvas of red tents as you drift over a cluster of men engaged in a spirited debate. Some point emphatically at diagrams of ramps ascending the pyramid's face. Others gesture towards winding designs that encircle the exterior. This scene unfolds not in ancient Egypt, but in a modern Cairo conference room where archaeologists, engineers, and historians are still grappling with one of the paramount questions of pyramid construction. How were those colossal stones transported to the summit? No definitive records precisely describe the ramp systems, but fragmented ancient depictions and remnants of low ramps found around the pyramid bases offer intriguing clues. Certain theories propose extensive, straight ramps extending hundreds of meters from the pyramid, necessitating vast quantities of material for their construction and subsequent dismantling. Others suggest spiral ramps, corkscrewing up the exterior, allowing for the continuous placement of stones as the pyramid grew. A more recent hypothesis even posits the existence of internal ramps concealed within the pyramid structure. Here is a concrete historical fact. The 21st century theory, proposed by French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin, suggests that the Great Pyramid may incorporate a spiraling internal ramp, partially substantiated by microgravity scans that revealed voids consistent with his model. Historians continue to debate whether these internal ramps were ever realized, or if ancient builders relied on more conventional external ramps that have left minimal evidence. Speaking of engineering discussions, did you know that Leonardo da Vinci once sketched designs for a bridge so innovative that modern analyses confirmed its perfect functionality had it been built? In every proposed model, the ramp system had to resolve three critical challenges: stability, a gradient gentle enough to haul stones, and the capacity to extend or elevate as construction progressed. If the slope was too steep, sledges could not ascend. If it was too narrow, traffic would become congested. Each stone placed at a higher elevation required adjustments to the ramps and the assurance of safe working conditions for the crews. Picture the scene, chaotic, yet precise. Men adding new sections of ramp by torchlight during the night, others smoothing surfaces with clay and water, and overseers issuing commands from scaffolding. Errors risked catastrophic collapses, but meticulous planning ensured the project's upward momentum. Therefore, as your eyes grow heavy, tune into the muffled sound of stones being rolled along ramps, the gentle hiss of wet sand applied to reduce friction, and the hushed deliberation over how one of humanity's most celebrated achievements reached such lofty heights. The midday sun glints off chisels and hammers as you glide through the cool shadows of a workshop situated near the pyramid's base. Here, rows of skilled artisans meticulously carve hieroglyphs into limestone blocks, polish granite sarcophagi to a dazzling sheen, and paint vibrant scenes of deities and pharaohs onto wooden coffins. These craftspeople constituted the often unacknowledged backbone of pyramid construction, highly trained specialists whose delicate artistry achieved what the sheer force of stone haulers alone could not. These artisans were not mere laborers. They were esteemed members of society, frequently educated from childhood in temple schools. Sculptors, painters, and stone carvers transformed raw materials into intricate masterpieces destined to adorn burial chambers and royal tomb furnishings. Their expertise extended far beyond stone blocks. They fashioned jewelry, ceremonial furniture, and religious effigies, all essential for the pharaoh's passage to the afterlife. Here is a verifiable historical detail. Archaeologists have discovered sophisticated tools, such as copper chisels, dolerite pounders, and polished stone burnishers, in the workshops of craftsmen at sites near Giza. Historians continue to debate the extent to which interior decoration was completed before chambers were sealed, and whether some chambers were finished hastily after a pharaoh's demise. Speaking of overlooked artisans, did you know that the same factory responsible for the Eiffel Tower's ironwork also constructed the internal framework for the Statue of Liberty? Certain workshops leave their indelible mark on multiple marvels. As the pyramid rose, artisans ascended alongside the builders, smoothing each newly placed layer of limestone casing. Their finishing touches transformed rough-hewn stones into seamless surfaces that reflected the sun like polished mirrors. Within the pyramid's concealed chambers, artists painted constellations onto ceilings to represent the celestial sphere and inscribed prayers to guide the pharaoh's spirit. Metalworkers within these teams fashioned copper handles, golden amulets, and delicate blades for funerary treasures. Imagine wandering through these workshops at twilight, the warm flicker of oil lamps casting dancing light across vibrant pigments, the quiet scraping of chisels shaping hieroglyphs, and the hushed conversations of artists perfecting details that would remain unseen for millennia. Thus, as you drift further towards sleep, attune your senses to the patient tapping of hammers, the soft rustling of papyrus sketches laid out for reference, and the quiet pride of artisans whose anonymous hands shaped history's most enduring symbols. Pale moonlight spills across the plateau as you drift through the dimly lit corridors deep within the pyramids. The walls bear inscriptions, graffiti left by the builders themselves. Here, in the spaces rarely glimpsed, crews immortalize their team designations in red ochre, such as the Drunkards of Khufu or the Friends of Khufu, playful appellations that reveal a surprisingly human dimension to those who toiled on these monumental structures. In the 19th century, archaeologists first discovered these markings scrawled on the backs of limestone blocks in the Great Pyramid's inner chambers. Far removed from royal pronouncements or religious texts, they were simple, informal notations, like roster entries or inside jokes, recording who placed which stones. These scribbles corroborated earlier hints, confirming that the pyramids were erected by organized teams of workers who shared strong camaraderie and took pride in their labor. Here is a verifiable historical detail. Many of these inscriptions are written in hieratic script, a cursive form of hieroglyphs used for rapid note-taking, and frequently include dates and references to specific work crews. Historians continue to debate whether these inscriptions were officially sanctioned by overseers as a method for tracking progress, or if they were spontaneous expressions of team spirit by the crews themselves. Speaking of graffiti, did you know that the world's oldest known Babylonian joke was discovered on a tablet dating back 3,500 years? It turns out that playful banter is truly timeless. Beyond identifying crew names, some graffiti features crude sketches of animals or brief prayers for safety, offering glimpses into the personalities behind the construction. These scribbles lend a human scale to pyramid building, reminding us that behind each stone were real individuals with their own jokes, anxieties, and friendships. Picture yourself crouching in a narrow torchlit passage, the air cool and heavy with dust, as a worker leans over a newly positioned block to scrawl his team's name before it is sealed forever. The quiet scratch of a reed pen on stone echoes faintly in the darkness. So, as your breathing slows, listen for the soft laughter of a tired builder inscribing a quick jest on a wall, the shuffle of feet in confined corridors, and the subtle reassurance that even history's greatest monuments bear the personal imprint of the people who created them. A soft dawn breaks over the plateau as you hover above successive layers of limestone, steadily ascending toward the sky. Each course of blocks is stacked with methodical precision. Time itself seems to decelerate as decades of labor unfold beneath you. From the initial foundation stones laid upon bedrock to the crowning capstone gleaming in the sun, the pyramids were not completed within a single pharaoh's reign. They were long term endeavors that spanned multiple reigns, political transitions, and even the passing of kings. While Khufu's Great Pyramid may have commenced with an ambitious plan, its construction likely extended over 20 to 30 years, requiring continuity across various royal administrations. Egyptologists have painstakingly pieced together a construction timeline through the analysis of tool marks, unfinished casing stones, and radiocarbon dating of organic materials embedded in the mortar. These traces reveal how crews adapted designs as they progressed upward, modifying angles or adjusting chamber layouts in response to new engineering challenges. Here is a verifiable historical detail. Studies of organic materials found within the mortar indicate that different sections of the pyramid were worked on at distinct times, confirming that construction proceeded in stages rather than as a singular, continuous effort. Historians continue to debate whether political instability during construction caused delays or necessitated modifications to the pyramid's original architectural plans. Speaking of projects that stretch over extended periods, did you know that a cathedral in Cologne, Germany took over 600 years to complete? It appears that extensive construction timelines are not solely an ancient Egyptian phenomenon. In these protracted projects, some crews who initiated the work may not have lived to see its conclusion, with their sons or grandsons stepping in to carry on the task. The pyramids thus became multi-generational undertakings, connecting families to a legacy of craftsmanship passed down from father to son. Some stone blocks even exhibit signs of minor repairs made years apart, suggesting that builders revisited earlier levels as construction advanced. Imagine the shifting dynamics on the plateau. The excitement of new work crews arriving to lay fresh courses of stone, the weariness of seasoned laborers who remembered the pyramid as little more than a nascent mound, and the collective pride in observing a mountain of stone inching closer to completion with each passing sunrise. So as your eyelids grow heavy, feel the slow rhythm of time stretching across decades. Hear the consistent thud of chisels echoing from one generation to the next, and sense the quiet determination of builders who understood their work would endure far beyond their own lifetimes. Asterisk moonlight spills across the plateau as you drift through the dimly lit corridors deep within the pyramids. The walls bear inscriptions, graffiti left by the builders themselves. Here, in spaces rarely glimpsed, crews immortalize their team designations in red ochre, such as the Drunkards of Khufu or the Friends of Khufu, playful appellations that reveal a surprisingly human dimension to those who toiled on these monumental structures. In the 19th century, archaeologists first discovered these markings scrawled on the backs of limestone blocks in the Great Pyramid's inner chambers. Far removed from royal pronouncements or religious texts, they were simple, informal notations, like roster entries or inside jokes, recording who placed which stones. These scribbles corroborated earlier hints, confirming that the pyramids were erected by organized teams of workers who shared strong camaraderie and took pride in their labor. Here is a verifiable historical detail. Many of these inscriptions are written in hieratic script, a cursive form of hieroglyphs used for rapid note-taking, and frequently include dates and references to specific work crews. Historians continue to debate whether these inscriptions were officially sanctioned by overseers as a method for tracking progress, or if they were spontaneous expressions of team spirit by the crews themselves. Speaking of graffiti, did you know that the world's oldest known Babylonian joke was discovered on a tablet dating back 3,500 years? It turns out that playful banter is truly timeless. Beyond identifying crew names, some graffiti features crude sketches of animals or brief prayers for safety, offering glimpses into the personalities behind the construction. These scribbles lend a human scale to pyramid building, reminding us that behind each stone were real individuals with their own jokes, anxieties, and friendships. Picture yourself crouching in a narrow, torchlit passage, the air cool and heavy with dust, as a worker leans over a newly positioned block to scrawl his team's name before it is sealed forever. The quiet scratch of a reed pen on stone echoes faintly in the darkness. So, as your breathing slows, listen for the soft laughter of a tired builder inscribing a quick jest on a wall, the shuffle of feet in confined corridors, and the subtle reassurance that even history's greatest monuments bear the personal imprint of the people who created them. A soft dawn breaks over the plateau as you hover above successive layers of limestone, steadily ascending toward the sky. Each course of blocks is stacked with methodical precision. Time itself seems to decelerate as decades of labor unfold beneath you, from the initial foundation stones laid upon bedrock to the crowning capstone gleaming in the sun. The pyramids were not completed within a single pharaoh's reign. They were long-term endeavors that spanned multiple reigns, political transitions, and even the passing of kings. While Khufu's Great Pyramid may have commenced with an ambitious plan, its construction likely extended over 20 to 30 years, requiring continuity across various royal administrations. Egyptologists have painstakingly pieced together a construction timeline through the analysis of tool marks, unfinished casing stones, and radiocarbon dating of organic materials embedded in the mortar. These traces reveal how crews adapted designs as they progressed upward, modifying angles or adjusting chamber layouts in response to new engineering challenges. Here is a verifiable historical detail. Studies of organic materials found within the mortar indicate that different sections of the pyramid were worked on at distinct times, confirming that construction proceeded in stages rather than as a singular, continuous effort. Historians continue to debate whether political instability during construction caused delays or necessitated modifications to the pyramid's original architectural plans. Speaking of projects that stretch over extended periods, did you know that a cathedral in Cologne, Germany, took over 600 years to complete? It appears that extensive construction timelines are not solely an ancient Egyptian phenomenon. In these protracted projects, some crews who initiated the work may not have lived to see its conclusion, with their sons or grandsons stepping in to carry on the task. The pyramids thus became multi-generational undertakings, connecting families to a legacy of craftsmanship passed down from father to son. Some stone blocks even exhibit signs of minor repairs, made years apart, suggesting that builders revisited earlier levels as construction advanced. Imagine the shifting dynamics on the plateau, the excitement of new work crews arriving to lay fresh courses of stone, the weariness of seasoned laborers who remembered the pyramid as little more than a nascent mound, and the collective pride in observing a mountain of stone inching closer to completion with each passing sunrise. So, as your eyelids grow heavy, feel the slow rhythm of time stretching across decades. Hear the consistent thud of chisels echoing from one generation to the next, and sense the quiet determination of builders who understood their work would endure far beyond their own lifetimes. A restless evening wind stirs sand around the pyramids as you drift above 19th century tents dotting the plateau. European explorers in pith helmets wander among the colossal stones by lamplight, sketching their observations and crafting narratives for eager audiences back home. These were the nascent days of Egyptology, a period when a pervasive sense of mystery and adventure fueled imaginations, giving rise to many of the enduring myths that still surround the pyramids today. Writers and mystics of the late 19th and early 20th centuries frequently filled knowledge gaps with speculative theories. Some asserted that the pyramids were constructed by survivors of Atlantis, while others insisted they contained encoded prophecies foretelling humanity's future. Early publications, such as Piazzi Smith's Our Inheritance in the Great Pyramid, popularized the notion that the pyramids harbored hidden mathematical messages, linking them to biblical timelines or lost civilizations. Here is a verifiable historical fact. In 1859, Charles Piazzi Smith proposed that measurements of the Great Pyramid incorporated a pyramid inch, purportedly predicting events like the birth of Christ and the end of the world, a theory now widely discredited. Historians continue to debate the extent to which early Egyptologists' personal beliefs influenced their interpretations and whether these ideas ultimately proved more detrimental than beneficial to the preservation of genuine historical understanding. Speaking of elaborate theories, did you know that a psychic in the 1920s claimed that the Sphinx's paws concealed a secret library from Atlantis? Even adherents of Edgar Cayce harbored pyramid fever, while these early explorers meticulously mapped tombs and transcribed hieroglyphs. Their sensational tales inspired newspapers to amplify stories of Pharaoh's curses, cosmic enigmas, and alien architects. These narratives captivated the public and boosted book sales, but they often overshadowed rigorous scholarly investigation. Even in contemporary times, documentaries and clickbait articles echo concepts that originated over a century ago. Visualize the flickering glow of oil lamps casting long shadows across the pyramid faces, explorers whispering of hidden chambers, and the soft rustling of journal pages, recording both factual discoveries and fanciful speculations. The profound silence of the desert lent itself to myth-making, serving as a vast stage where every reverberation was perceived as a clue to lost secrets. Therefore, as your breathing deepens, listen for the hiss of lantern flames, the crunch of boots on sand, and the distant murmur of narratives transforming fact into legend. Myths that, like desert winds, continue to drift across the pyramids. The sun descends over the Giza Plateau, casting the pyramid's long, majestic shadows across the shifting sands. You float above tourists tracing ancient pathways, guides recounting legends of pharaohs and curses, Even in an era of satellite imagery and laser scans, the pyramids retain their enigmatic allure. Why do we still gravitate toward extravagant theories involving extraterrestrials or lost continents when abundant evidence points to the ingenuity of ancient Egyptians? A portion of the explanation lies in humanity's innate love for wonder. The allure of a hidden secret just beyond reach is irresistible, whether it manifests as tales of Atlantis or narratives of Atlantean technologies buried beneath the stones. Furthermore, some myths serve to romanticize the past, rendering history akin to a puzzle solvable only by the most astute minds. Yet, these myths can inadvertently eclipse the real individuals, the quarry workers, the cooks, the architects, whose achievements rightfully command our admiration. Excavations conducted over the past 50 years have unearthed thousands of tools, evidence of workers' housing, graffiti, and human remains, all confirming that the pyramids were constructed by organized, well nourished Egyptian laborers. Historians continue to deliberate on the most effective methods for conveying the truth without diminishing the sense of wonder that initially draws people to these magnificent monuments. Speaking of wonder, did you know that there is a rare type of fog, known as a har, that can roll in with such density it makes Scottish castles appear to be floating? Reality, at times, surpasses even the most fantastical imaginings. When we acknowledge the true builders of the pyramids, we honor the skill, innovation, and perseverance of an ancient civilization that dared to envision and execute projects on a scale unmatched for millennia. We celebrate a culture that meticulously aligned its structures with celestial bodies, expertly organized vast workforces, and meticulously crafted wonders that still stand thousands of years later. The fact that they were built by human hands does not diminish the pyramid's impressiveness. Rather, it renders them even more extraordinary. Imagine the warm desert air of the night, the scent of dust and stone, and the ethereal echoes of workers' songs carried on the breeze. Within each block of limestone lies a narrative of exertion, unwavering resolve, and a profound belief in a legacy intended to endure eternally. So, as your breathing slows, listen to the soft wind whispering across ancient stones, the quiet pulse of a civilization that left its indelible mark in precise lines of rock, and the comforting assurance that at times humanity's own hands are the most potent instruments of all. Dot asterisk. Now let the night envelop you in its gentle dark embrace, and allow your mind to wander across the serene sands of Giza. Visualize the pyramids glowing softly beneath a celestial canopy blanketed with stars. The air remains warm from the day's sun, and the timeless stones whisper their stories into the breeze. As your eyelids grow heavier, recall the men who carved each block with calloused hands and patient hearts, their voices rising in ancient songs now lost to the wind. Feel the slow, steady breath of a world predating any written word, where simple tools and determined minds conjured wonders meant to defy time itself. Let each thought soften like footsteps receding across the sand, each memory blur like stars shimmering on the horizon. Understand that the greatest enigmas are not always concealed within myths, but are often revealed in the sweat and dreams of people who believed they could touch the heavens. Tonight, as you sink deeper into the warmth of your blanket, rest assured that they stand as an eternal testament to human will, silent and expectant beneath an endless expanse of night. Sleep well, and may your dreams ascend as high as those ancient, inscribed stones. Good night.